Hello, I'm Robin, and here we are back into the crazy DIY corner of the shed for another exciting, nail-biting DIY project. What are we looking at? This is going to be the FX Boy. Now, I know that Befaco inwardly shudder whenever I say, hey, I could do a video on one of your kits, because they know that I really poke at the inadequacies of their documentation. Not to say that any of their documentation is inadequate. They do a brilliant, fantastic job. And there's paper involved and everything, which is highly commendable. But what I do is I pick at any tiny inconsistency or thing that might trip you up, and I just poke my finger in it until it really hurts. But I do that out of love. I do that because I want everyone to enjoy this build, and for any misconceptions or problems or misinterpretations to be discovered by me on the way, so that you don't run into any of those issues. Because it's hard enough soldering something together without not being completely sure as to what you're supposed to do. So what is the FX Boy? Well, it's this crazy, weird thing. How do you open these, I wonder? I don't know. I mean, it's an effects module based on cartridges that you can't get out of the boxes. So we're never really going to know what it's going to sound like. So that's quite exciting. No, honestly, how do they open? Do you need a screwdriver? Hang on. Do you do that? I don't know that I can see properly. Do you squeeze that? Ah, there we go. I think you sort of squeeze it. I don't know. Anyway, in here are these cartridges. Each one created by a different firm. Each one can be plugged in real time, and it creates an effect. Largely it seems to be about crushing and bending, distorting and overdriving at the moment. But as far as I can see on these cartridges at the moment, I've got a wave folder, flanger, trash. Don't know what that is. Microphaser and effects girl. Who knows? I'm looking forward to trying all of those out because it sounds really exciting, and effects is something that I really need just at the moment to run my endless processor through. If you didn't see that review, go and check it out. It's a fantastic module. So this, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. The other thing it's pretty dense. I mean, there's a whole load of stuff here, a couple of different boards, a whole load of components, a really thick manual, which all adds up to a bit of an intense build, I think. So I'm going to have a go at getting this done this morning, possibly this afternoon. We're going to see. But I haven't done a good, juicy, down to the components build in a little while. Lots of build at the moment have been sort of populated with surface mount stuff, and then you just put on the front panel bits, and that's nice. You know, that's a relaxed kind of friendly way of doing soldering, but it doesn't bring anywhere near as much risk and hazard as doing every single flipping resistor. That's what we like. Now I'm just going to go to the Befaco website to see if there's an update to what we're doing. Assembly manual, that's what we want. So the plan is that I'm going to use kind of the paper manual at the same time as this manual, just to compare the two to see whether I'm missing anything. This does seem to be the same, but sometimes, yeah, no, it seems to be the same. The colouring on the online manual can sometimes be useful. Good Lord, there's a lot of resistors. Nice. So, yeah, going to sort of keep this all going. Yeah, bit of that, bit of that. Let's turn on the soldering iron. Right, so let's have a look. Thanks for choosing one of our kits. Awesome. Some steps are not obvious. Blah, blah, blah. Lo-de-do. Don't kill yourself. Okay. You'll be soldering both boards at the same time. Keeping them in the panel together might help you through the build. Keep them in the panel? What's that? Anyway, So essentially all it's saying is that you should solder all the resistors on. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's start with that. So let's just, well, before we get to that point, let's have a look at the kit that comes in the box. I had to lose my box because it was too big as I was carrying it in my luggage. So what do we have? We have the front panel and PCBs are there. Crikey blimey. I'm too intrigued. I'm going to have a look. Front panel we can deal with later. 1, 2, 3. I appear to have 4 PCBs. Now that looks like, I don't know what that is. Oh, I think you get like a blank cartridge into which you can build your own circuits, which is brilliant. What a bit of genius that is, if you have any idea what you're doing, which I do not. So I'm not going to be doing anything with that anytime soon. Not worried about that. The other PCBs, great. So I have a bunch of resistors, some knobs and caps, they can go for later. Front panel bits. Ooh. Whole load of chips, whole load of chip holders. Some more knobby hardware. This looks like capacitors, stuff in there. Oh yeah, a whole load of capacitors. Great stuff. Some stickers, nice. And a little 1U blank, that's a nice one. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, and of course I've got all these cartridges, which I'll just have to get out of the way for the moment. Power connector. So, how are we approaching this? I'm going to need my magnifiers. So, I think on here, everything has a number. All the resistors have a number. They've all got little extra bits that hold them together that we will take off. And then that's the front panel one. Ooh, lots of things on both sides. So this seems to be where the numbers start. Got to be very careful, I imagine, not to break this quite thin area of PCB here. That's what I'm a little bit worried about, breaking these ends off. But that's going to have to be done at some point. Should I do it now? Well, the manual hasn't said anything about it, so I'm going to ignore it for the minute. So what we're going to have to do is identify our resistors, because we need to stick in 66 100Ks. I think this is the only bag of resistors. So let's get this out of here. And I can probably make a guess that the big roll of resistors, this one here, are the 100K. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably right. But hey, let's take a moment to grab my meter. So I'm going to stick this on ohmage, stick it on a thing, and watch it go up to 100K. 100K, 100K. Great stuff. So I think we might as well just get on with that. I mean, that's going to take us a fair while. It's a matter of finding them. Oh, look, there's a couple of ferrite beads there. It's important not to lose those out of the bag. I'm going to be putting those on at some point. Now, one thing about using a piece of paper is that you can cross stuff off as you go, which can be very useful. Using the online one is perhaps not so easy with that. It's not easy at all. But we're starting from R1, going all the way through to R108. So R1 is the front panel one, we decided, which is this one. So I guess what I should do, this goes up to R54. So I should stick on all the resistors, all the 100K resistors on here, and solder them. That's going to be the plan. So what I do with like groups of these, I tend to take about 4, pull them out, and then I bend them all, and then rotate that, and then bend them all, so that I can just stick them in. So let me do one or two. Let me do these 4, say, together, and then we'll throw it into the time lapse. So 100k, R1, R2. There's R1 right at the top. These are quite squat little resistors, these ones. R2 is there. Then R6 and R7. There's R7, there's R6. R7. Now Befaco are a little bit legendary for the denseness of their boards, but actually this one doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's a lot of stuff on it, but it doesn't look overcrowded at all. So I think this is going to be fine. So that's the first 4. Let me solder those, and then, as I say, we'll move on. Put some air on. Got some solder. Also going to put on my safety specs to avoid any splashes, bubbling, any throws of solder. So I'm going to heat a leg and heat a pad. Apply some solder. Beautiful. Leg and pad. Solder. Leg and pad. Oh, can't get through. Leg and pad. These two in the middle here seem to be sort of connected on purpose. There you go. That was nice and easy. Then I just take off those legs. And that's my first little run of resistors. Beautiful. Beautiful. So I'm going to carry on with that. I will see you at the other side. I'm just going to do these 100k ones, and then we'll have a look at the other ones. Well, at least we'll stop for a breather and a recap and see where we get to, and then I'll probably just stick all the rest in. Good. See you in a minute. One interesting point to make here is that putting in this many resistors at once makes the underside, the bit you're trying to solder, sometimes completely impenetrable. And there's a strong possibility that you are going to miss something, which I certainly did, but I've found them I found them by examining it afterwards. So there's certainly an argument to be made for putting in, say, 10 resistors, soldering those and then taking the legs off, rather than putting in, I don't know, 30 like I have done here. But there we go. There we go. I remember when I did my very first build, there was nothing in the instructions. Oh, look, see, there's one. There was nothing in the instructions about cutting off the legs, so I didn't. So I wasn't sure. Because, you know, I'm the sort of person who follows instructions, absolutely, to the letter when given them. And so I ended up with this just mass of legs sticking out the back. And I had to sort of make my own decision on taking the legs off. When, you know, when it's the very first time you're doing it, you just don't know, do you? You just don't know. How would you know? How would you know? I mean, that's my whole approach to making videos on soldering is exactly that. Is that if this is your first project, how would you know? Because so much assumption is made by the manufacturers, so much assumed knowledge and experience. I mean, you can't start every build from a position of absolutely not knowing anything, but often important bits of information do get left out because it's just assumed. It's so obvious that you would know, but you don't know until you know, is always my point. So sometimes it feels like I might overly labour points or things that I'm doing. Like, do I really need to show you how to solder the first resistor? But I find that these things are reassuringly helpful, and certainly the feedback I get from people is that is the case. So, you know, by all means, wind on in the video if you're finding what I'm doing a little bit laborious. You know, move on to the exciting stuff. That's fine. But, you know, it's all there for a reason. It's all good. Right, I think I got it. Now, one thing that you might also develop is a little pot in which you put all this stuff that comes off. I do have one. It is it's filled with the legs of 100 projects. So far so good. That is half of them, I think. I got up to 50 something. 54 was 54 one. No, 52, 53. Okay, so that's that one. Let's move on to the next number. 55 is there. So what do I need? 55, 56. So I've still got half of these to do. And as I say, like before, I take 4 or 5. I give them a bend. I give them another bend. And they go in pretty smart. 56. And of course I'm not going to learn from what I said before about not putting too many in. I'm just going to stick them all in and fight with the forest of legs, because that's just the kind of guy I am. Great, I'll carry on with this and we'll have a brief pause before we do the next bunch of resistors. appears to be all of them, although I do have a couple left. Not to worry. I mean, I didn't count the resistors in the first place, so it may be that I've got a couple of extra, or it may be that across the 3 PCBs I've just missed 1 or 2, but that will become evident as we populate the rest of the boards. So from here we need to work out what the rest of the resistors are, which we have here. So let's get rid of the diodes for the moment. And we've got these chunks. Now some of them we can identify purely through the number. So for instance, there's 8 of these. So these must be the 18Ks. But heck, it's always good. It's always good just to check. 18K. 47. Got these, which are 6 of these, so these should be 20K. Yep. Another group of 4. 68.3, 68. Yeah, 68. 153, which should be 200K. Yeah, or 0.2 meg. Another group of 3. 1K. Yeah. Got a group of 2 here. 56.5. 32.8, 33, 2K7, and then we've got some singles, which I think we'll get to as we do them. I'll put them to one side for the minute. So yeah, just keep at it. That's all you could do. Just keep at it. Right, just onto these last single ones. Now, we're doing one at a time because I've got to work out what the heck they are. So this is, I don't know, I don't really know. Reading the bands I find very troublesome at my age. So measuring them seems to be the best bet. So that must be 0.3 or 300K. So 300K. Orange, black, black, orange, brown. Orange, black, black, orange, brown. So you can see it once you know what it is. Before then I just don't know. So this is 300, 73, 68, 70, 74, 72, come on, 73 there. Next, 820, 820k, yeah, 820k, R20, 22k, 22k, red, red, black, red, brown, red, red, black, red, brown, yeah, 22k, R65, 3.2k or 3k3, yeah, 3k3, R8, 0.22 meg, so that'll be 220k, red, red, black, orange, brown, red, red, black, orange, brown, 220k, 86. Well, that should be the lot. Let me solder those in before I get myself too carried away. Well, that was a satisfying bunch of resistors. I'm just going to check to see whether there's any that I've missed, because I do have those 200Ks left over. It was R9. What was R9? R9 was 100k, so there we go, found one. Somehow got that wrong. Oh, well, that seems to be it at the moment. So just one rogue then. You do tend to find when you do a whole load of resistors that there's sometimes an occasional bonus one in the bag. And you know, more fool me for not counting them in the first place, just to be absolutely sure. But who knows, we may come across another missing bit later on. We shall see. But as far as I could tell, at this very moment, that is all the resistors. So, next page, diodes. 6 of these. And then the ferrites. Be good to do all of those together, I think. So diodes first. That's this lot here. Got the fat ones, which are always around the power, and these ones which just, you know, let things go in one direction. Who knows? Who knows? But you can treat them very much like resistors in terms of how you put them in. Same sort of deal, really. So D1, D2. D3, D4. Are they on here or are they on the other one? There's a 1, 2. At the very least. So D1 is the little one. Oh, heck. No, I haven't even remotely thought about which way round they go, like a dipstick. So this is very, very important, extremely important that you get this round the right way. Duh, wake up. I'm on some kind of autopilot here. So if you look at the board, it should tell you which way round it goes because of the white line on the silk screen. So this, do you see that? It's got a thicker white line on one side, and that needs to go on these, particularly on these orange ones, to the black line. So I just fortuitously put that in absolutely the right way around. Right, this one. Let's be more careful. So this time the white line is there. Line that up with the black line on the diode, because it's only flowing in one way. It's only allowed to flow in one direction. So these absolutely have to be completely and utterly the right way around, or it fails. It just fails. D3 there. So D3, the white stripe is on this side, so the black goes down there. So will I have number 4 in here? Maybe not. Let's have a look on the other board. D4 is there, white line is there, white line goes to the black line. There. And the 2 thicker ones are going to be near the power connector, I imagine. Yes, they are. I'll come back to those in a second. Let's just get this bunch of 4 in. Now, as we take these legs off, we want to hang on to a couple of these because we'll need them for the ferrite beads. So I'm not going to throw these away at this time. And then these larger ones here, these are D5 and D6, which is on this board, as I say, down by the power connector, which is here. So D5, again, you've got to get it the right way around. See the white line? You've also got a symbol for the diode on this particular one. So the silver goes with the line. You can see that on there. So it's going to go in this way round. Good old thick legs on these buggers. And here they actually go facing each other. So there's the white line on D6, that goes to the silver line. Pull that through. Right, the ferrite beads, they are F1 and F2. I saw those, didn't I? F1 and F2, right next to the diodes I was just doing, right next to those. So ferrite beads are here, they're in this bag. Use a recycled resistor leg. Don't let your fan, if you're running one of those, blow them away. That tends to be a bit of a problem. There it goes. Whew. So what you do is you grab a spare cut off leg, thread it through, and put that in place. F1, F2, bend the legs, solder those in. Right, we've gotten to a good place. Done all the little stuff. Now we've got to do all of the IC sockets. A whole load of these, and then we do the capacitors. Now this is the right way around. Very often you'll find that they ask you to do the capacitors first, but the thing is, you really want to keep to the height. The height is really important. As you're turning these over and try to solder them, if you put the capacitors in first, it then starts getting high, which makes it difficult to put the IC sockets in. So it's great that Befaco have recognized that and are instructing you to do it this way. All the chips are on the other side. Keep those to one side for the moment. The great thing about sockets is that it allows us to mess this all up without damaging the chips. So, place the sockets, taking care to orient them properly so the notch matches on the silk screen. I should have 10, 10, 10 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 1, which is got 16. Those are 14, those are 8. So this one is a 16, those are 14, those are the 8s. So they are labelled, but they're going to be in pretty much by size. So if I start here, I've got a 4. Now with these, the orientation is important. Not that it's important for the holders, but it's important for the chips. But the holders themselves have got this little nick in it, this little notch, which corresponds to the notch or the pin 1 on the chip. And so that is also reflected in the silk screen here. So you want to have this the right way round so that you have every chance of putting the chip in the right way round. So it just drops in like that. Now something I've learned is if you just push one of the or two of the legs in the corners, it makes it much easier to turn over and solder. So let's put these little ones in first. So that was 1. I've got next one here, 4. Just use a nail. I've got a bunch across here. Make sure you've got them the right way around. It's not perfect, I have to say. They still absolutely can fall out. And I've got this big one in the middle. Not that one, one of the others. Again, make sure the orientation is right. We've got one over there too. In the spot. goes that way around and not coming towards me. So it should be completely possible to turn this upside down without them all falling out, because I've done those little notches. That's the plan, you see. That's the plan. Is that actually going to work? Well, I don't know. I can try it, but I'm going to put my fingers on it a little bit anyway. And just, oh, get away with it. Oh, it's down. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So that's the plan. And then you've just got all this glorious soldering that you can do row after row after row. This is very well and very flat down. It's worth just doing a corner and then picking it up and checking it. So do a corner on each one and then just check to make sure that it's not somehow come out of its socket or going a bit weird. Because once they're soldered in, they're a bugger to remove. Trying to desolder an IC socket, oh, it's alright, you're better off just chopping it up. So it's good to do a leg and then check. So I'm going to do a leg on all of these and check, and then I'll let it run and you can watch it all speeded up. So there's a leg. So they all look good. They all look flat. And so on this other board here, you've got one, two, a couple of the smaller ones. And on this board, you've got all the rest. Lots of chips. Lots and lots of chips. So I'm going to get on with all this, and I'll see you on the other side. Rightio. Next up is capacitors. There's a heck of a lot of these too. 48, 24, and then a bunch. So identifying can be tricky. They've got tiny little bits on it. So what we're looking for, the numbers are going to help again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 of those. Oh, the things. So these are 4N7K, 4N7s, 8 of. So those are easy. These ones, it says on them 102. And there should be 11. 2, 3, 4, 5. 11. So those are easy. This is going to be the big lot of 104s. Which are probably the most famous of all capacitors, and indeed it says on those, you can see that. Don't know that you can. Yeah, 104. So that's the big load of 48. Tell you what, why don't I do those obvious ones, and then we can get to the other ones in a minute. So let's just put the first couple in. See what's going on. See what's what. So there's 48. Now these things here are rather annoying. How do you get them out? Do you have to pull them all individually like that? Sometimes you do, sometimes you can, if you're lucky, sort of get behind. No, it will just all fall on the floor. Sometimes you can get that sort of masking tape off a little bit and then find that that probably doesn't really help in the slightest, but I'm going with it. Please put in your comments the best way to remove capacitors from their wrapping. I hate it, I do. I hate it. Oh, well, there we go. And someone else mentioned that you could actually trim the legs rather than all this mucking about. I suppose you could do that. That seems like a big extra step rather than just yanking them, I would say. But anyway, let's get on putting a couple in. So C2, C3, C2. There, now these aren't polarised, so it doesn't matter which way around they go in. C2 and C3. Like so, very easy. And as I say, they're perhaps a little bit higher than the IC holders, which is why they needed to go in afterwards. So I'm going to get on and stick all of those in and solder all of those, and I'll see you later. Right, before I get on to these little fellas, let's do the other sort of orangey ones that are in here, the smaller ones. So I've still got my height consistency going through. Let's see what we've got. Now I imagine there'll be 24 of these. It says code 10. Yeah, let's see, it's got a 10 on it. 10, and it should be 24. 10, 24. Got some electrolytic ones we'll come to in a minute. Got an LED, power bits and pieces, and a couple of smaller ones. I better make sure we have the rest of these right. That's a transistor. I have 25, so there might be one which is differently, but we've got one there which is a 10K100 and the 33NK. Those are separate. 11102's done that, done the 104, so I might just have one extra of those. Those are the 2N2s. That's the 4N7s. So there's no additional weirdo capacitor. After that I've just got the electrolytics, so there should be 24 of these. There appears to be 25. That should all be good. So I think at this stage I can just keep on going. I'm going to keep on going of all of these capacitors, all of the square ones, and we'll stop at the electrolytics and have a look at those together. Alrighty. That seems to be all the orange ones in. So let's get on to these white chunky ones. So this is the 8 4N7s. 4N7s clearly says on the back. So C37. None on that one. 37. Again, these are not polarized, so they can go in either way around. And I'm finding giving them a little wiggle and then pulling seems to be the answer. How many years have I been doing this now to not know that? 39, 42, this one there. It's all packing in here nicely now. And 80, which must be on here somewhere. Oh, I got, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I've got a wayward one. That's crazy. So it's this one here. Which is here. And here. It's a bit better. Here. Alright, well that'll do. It's not the end of the world. It's a bit better. Some of this is a bit shocking, I have to say. I am running out of steam, and that's a bit of a problem. Nothing, no reflection on the build. So I think I'm just going to put these ones in and then call it a day at this point, and I'll come back to this another time. Not that has any effect on you, of course, you people watching in after the event. So there's two of these, 68 and 72. And then I've got the 10K 100, which is 35. There. This which is a 33 NK, which is 36. Good, so I've got one rogue 10 left. I've now got this bunch of electrolytics to do, which is on the next page, and the LED. And then we're getting into connectors and all the front panel stuff. So yeah, that's good enough for me for the moment. I'll come back to this later. Right, last time I just finished doing the capacitors. All the orange globby bits all over here, and I think we're about to start on the electrolytics, which are these fellas. And these are polarized. These have a positive and a negative, which is clearly marked. You should be able to see that there is on one side it says negative, and that tends to be to the short leg. So it's long leg positive, short leg negative, and that's going to be important, and we'll see that hopefully reflected on the PCB. So there should be 9, apparently, 9 of these, and they're all the same. Are they all the same? That's remarkable. Yeah, they should all be 10 microfarad or something like that. Does it say that on here anywhere? No, not that I can see. So let's see where these go in place. So these are going to be on the board as round circles, with a slice. The slice giving you the negative side. It's also labelled negative and positive, which is brilliant. So there are 9 of these. So long leg positive, in the positive bit, short leg negative. Negative goes to the slice that's off that circle. You can stick that in. And these are all relatively small, so it's going to be fine putting in headers after this, because headers are going to be taller. So these are short, and that's why we can put them in now. So C5, was that C5? Because I didn't really look. C4, yeah, that would be C5. Because, I mean, these have to go into what's left, really. But the numbers are C5, C86, so that's it. There's just 1 on that one. Right, okay, I'll do that in a minute. On this one, don't seem to be a whole lot going on here. No, not that one. So it must all be on this bit here. Look at that, yes they are. So 86 is there. Long leg positive. Don't put it in backwards. Negative. Like so. It should be an 87. Long leg positive. 88. 89. 99. There. Long leg positive. See, that's the opposite way around. 100. Long leg positive. Super. So they're all in there. We'll solder those together. Lots of space on this particular board, which is nice. That looks okay. Then there was this one on this one here somewhere. There we go. Lovely. Okay. Voltage regulators. This regular ICs look like a transistor, but they're not. The shape is better known as a TO92 package, used mostly for transistors, but also for many other devices. Watch polarity. So we should have a 78L05. So we should have a 78L05, which is this one, and a TL750L, which is this one. They're slightly different, but both very much of a transistor type, but they are actually voltage regulators. So let's get this right. So the first one is IC20. This is the L05. IC20. Where are we going to find this, do we think? It says IC21. and IC20. Got it. So yeah, it is on the power board, this bit here. You just see them as a line of 3. So IC20, which is the one that's in my fingers, is there. And what you've got to do is follow the shape. See, there's a shape there of the dome, and you've got to follow that with the shape of the device itself. This one needs its legs sort of wanged out a little bit of wanging required, and then that shuffles its way into there. The other one is a little bit more set up for this sort of width, and this goes in here. Again, get the dome, get the orientation right, and that should go in nicely. So let's get those soldered in, and then we get on to the nightmare, which is the pin headers. Good. Pin headers. Place and solder the pin headers on the silkscreen side of the main board. It is the shorter pins that you are soldering. Double check they're all perfectly straight. And then the sockets. Okay, this tends to be the most difficult part of any build, is the pin headers. So the main board, I don't know which is the main board when it talks about the main board, but we do have these 2 boards, and now this is going to be the front panel. I know that much because it's got all the front stuff on it. So this is the board behind it. So which is the actual main board? That I don't know. But these 2 line up with all the headers. So one way or the other, this has got to fit together. On the back of here and on the front of there. So it's going to go together like this. This one, I don't know who cares about this one. this one must go all the way at the back here somewhere, I suppose. So let's see what we have. That's power, we'll do that in a minute. We have these. So I've got those that go together. That's a spare resistor, I can get rid of that for the moment. I've got that which goes together. Nope. That which goes together, and that which goes together. Pins and sockets. So there's 2 times 7, 1 times 6, and 1 times 3. It's saying jumper 7, that's jumper 2. So that is on the control board. So this feels like it. So this is saying that it's the control board. The one with the knobs on the front is the control board. So this is the main board. So we're looking at the main board at the moment. This one for the pins. So we want jumper 7, J7, see it says this side of the board. Is that going to be right? So if that is going like that, so that's going to be, no, okay, that way around. So it's going to go like that. Ultimately this is going to be the front panel. Yeah, so these, I'm looking for the pins, and they're going to go in here. Short side. But then the other 2 are going to be the other way up. Place and solder the pin headers on the silkscreen side of the main board. Double check they're all perfectly straight. So if that is like that, then this is going to be going like this, and that seems right. And then the other board is going to go underneath this way up. And so there's going to need to be stuff pointing downwards as well. But let's worry about these bits first. I've lost my normal piece of plastic that I do this with, so I'm going to have to use this rather marvellous blank from Voltage Vibes. That's going to have to do the job. So all I'm doing is I'm putting this over the top, like so. Badly. I'm not right for this, and I'm telling you, oh dear. Okay, let's try to reorganize myself a little bit. Short ends. Put this over the top in order to hold it so that I can place it down and it not all fall out. Now it might tip over. It feels like it's going to tip over, so I'm going to need to have something else in place. I'm just going to take that off there for the moment. I've done it again over here. Alright, this is not going well. Not going well. Come on, put it together. That there. That there. I mean, can I just do it with my fingers? Is that going to stay? On this occasion, yes it is. But I've got to keep this here, so I've got to be able to solder it as flat as possible. So is there something there? Yep, so that can help. Put that under the edge. And anything else that's going to help? Maybe I should put that there. So that's looking pretty good now, so I can push down on it. That's going to make sure that it's flat. So the key with this is going to be to do a single leg and then check, because you've got to get this as flat and as straight as possible. Try not to melt anything else on your board. Put that in there. I'm going to push down, apply some solder, try to hold it as I take that off, try to keep it as flat as possible. Do the same over here. Again, try not to melt anything. Apply some heat, apply some solder, let that off. Okay, that seemed to go quite well. So we now look at it from this side, just check that it's flat. That looks really good. Getting that? See how flat that is? Good. Solder the rest of them, the rest of the legs. And that will be nice and secure. Don't melt, don't melt, don't melt. You will always melt things, it's just what happens. You suddenly get this sort of waft of melted plastic and you have lent the iron against something that's already there. It's almost guaranteed, no matter how hard you try. Although I have to say this is going rather splendidly right now. It's just one of those things because you're having to solder both sides of the board, and so all that lovely built up stuff that you've done is prone to being melted. I think I got away with it. I think I got away with it. Got away with it. Right, so there's the other two jumpers still to do, and these are going to attach to the other board in our 3-board epic thing we've got here. So they're going to go on the other side of the board. Again, short legs into there, and short legs into here. Now, turning this one over is going to be trickier still, because it's still got to balance well. Can I do it with just my fingers like I did the other one? I mean, that was quite remarkable. I don't think I can. I did, I got it over. Alright. So just got to shove it about a little bit just to make sure that it's flat. Bring something else in to help. So is that going to wobble? Am I going to get that in alright? Over here. Put that in there. Alright, might get away with this one. Let's have a look. Again, I'm going to do a single leg. Let's do that leg there. I'm going to apply a bit of pressure. I hope that helps keep it straight. And then carefully remove the iron and let it solidify. And one here. A little bit trickier on this side. I think I've got it. Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks really good. Looks really good. turn it back over, do the other legs. Alright, that looks really quite good. Quite pleased with that. So that's the pin headers into that one. So the sockets are going to have to go into here and the other one, I suspect. So it places the socket configuration on the control board over the silkscreen markings. Double check they are perfectly straight. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this, because with a little bit of experience I find that it all tends to go a little bit pear-shaped. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that you place these bits onto the board, onto the pins. That's the wrong one. Let's get the right one on. Like so. And then place this on. So that way you can be absolutely sure that they're going to meet up again when you've soldered them. Because if you just place them and solder them, you might find that they're a little bit skew-whiff, and that's going to go badly for you. But of course you've got to really get it all in the bloody hole in the first place. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Okay, that's that one. That's both of them through. You see, that's both of them through. Oh, nearly let it all go there. Both of them through. Just checking there's nothing else touching or anything weird going on. Now it's a bit rocky, so I would like to find something just to hold that there. This has been useful so far. I'm going to stick that in. It's a little bit. It's definitely wanting to move in either direction. If I let it. Right. Is that that might help. Okay, so I've got a few things kind of sort of holding it up. So again, I'm going to just go for a single leg. I'm going to give it some heat and some pressure in the hope that that's flat, as flat as possible. I'm going to hold it. I think that's good, and do the same here. Hold it, remove, let it solidify. I think that's okay. That looks pretty flat to me. That looks pretty good. I think I've got this right. Pretty sure I think I've got this right. I think I have. Goes on there nice and smooth. Lovely. So these should be able to come apart and go back together again, just super perfectly. And they do. Super. Right, so the other ones go on this board here, because this goes on the back of the other one. Are you still with me? So I've got jumper 5. So where are we? So we need to be this way around. So on this part of the board, this is our 5x5, oh no, it's not, it's a 6x6, whatever it is. This is our smaller one. So again, same idea. Put the thing on the 6 one here as well. Mind your fingers. And then this, you see how that's going to marry up. That needs to go in those holes there. And then there's these holes here. That's not going to go in for some reason. Why is that not going in? Okay, I've got some things that are clashing with each other. That's not good, is it? If you look in here, we seem to have a bit of a clash going on between a capacitor, this one here, that's all a bit wayward. Oh, that was my wayward crazy one. Okay, so I'll put that a little bit more upright. Hopefully this will now marry up nicely. Nope, still not doing it. Still not doing it. So what is in the way? What is in the way? Maybe it is still this little capacitor. Let's knock it out of the way a little bit more. So why is that not going in further? Ah, I can see that voltage regulator is just sticking out a little bit. This one here. So I need to nudge that forward. I think that should be it. I think that should be it. That should be it. That's through there. That's through. I think that's through on both. Through enough, I would say. Kind of want it to be want it to be wonky. Want it to be flat. Right, come on. You can do this. So now it's all stupid because I've got bits there. This is all going to be difficult. Come on, think, boy. Right. Let's put this back in here to give it some stability. Like that. That's through. This is through. Just don't want it wobbling. I want it to be flat. And which way is flat? That way is flat. It needs to go up. So it needs to be there. Right. Are you following me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down nice and firmly here. Give it the one leg. Yeah, that seems alright. Same here. Just check that does not appear to be weird or wobbly. Good. Solder the rest of those legs then. And yeah, the old manual didn't go into quite enough detail with that, I think. But I think we covered it. Pretty sure we did. Now the whole thing's got to come apart again because we're not there yet. Lovely. Power connector. That's kind of like the last bit of the components, I think, to do, and then it's all going to be the front panel stuff. So power connector, I believe, goes on here, and it goes here somewhere, like that. There's a nice bendy right angle thing. So I think it might be time to lose these bits. Does it matter at this particular point? Well, because I might want to snap that properly. So what I'm going to do, see this bit here, is I'm going to try to remove it with some snippers, like that. Now a little bit of sandpaper might be wonderful in order just to get that down, but I'm not that fussed. That's gone away, that's good. And there's this one on the other side. It doesn't have those tags on it, so you just have to hold it and bend it. It's a bit scary. It's a bit scary. First time I did that, well, it's actually the first time I did that was on the Descartes Dream, the massive motherboard, trying to work out why the thing was too wide to go in the case. Flipping scared the life out of me. But it's what you do. It is the method by which this works. So this Goes in there. Still the tallest thing, so you should be able to turn it over. And if I can find something to put underneath, just to hold it. Ooh. Hold it up a little bit so it can be nice and straight. That's not working. Let's put that there. There we go. There we go. That feels solid. Yeah, that's nice and flat. That's good. So we're now over to the ICs. Now it's a good moment to split the boards apart. What are they talking about? Right, let's get these ICs in before we start onto the final front panel stuff. Then it'll feel like we've successfully got to a place we need to get to. So here are all the ICs. Everything has a bit of one, and it's going to be tricky to be able to see exactly where they all go. But hey, what can you do? So we're going to start off with the TLO72s. TLO72s. So those are the little square ones, the little 4x4, and there's 9 of those. That's a separate one. So all of these little ones here, that's what we're talking about. So just follow the numbers. Lumping about like an idiot. So we've got IC2, IC1, so that you can just about still see the labels next to things. Take all these out. Now I have a magic tool. This is my magic tool. This is for squashing the legs of unsuspecting ICs. It just straightens the legs out so they're more likely to go into your sockets, otherwise you will struggle. If you don't have one of these, you can sort of push the legs up onto a flat surface, sort of rock them that way gently till they give a little bit, and that should straighten the legs out. So IC1 is here. Just double check on the PCB. You can see the silk screen where the little nick is, where the notch is. That should be reflected on your IC holder, assuming you put it in correctly. But just check on the board that that's all marrying up, and then it's the dot on these that corresponds to that. The dot just needs to be pointing towards the notch, and then you just should be able to firmly push it in like so. Just brilliant. This thing here, this tool is one of the few tools that is genuinely useful, genuinely important. So here it's pointing that way, the notch is right. Turn this around the right way, like that. That's IC2. Push that in. Now there's 4. 3's a larger one. There's 4 we're doing 5, 6, 7 and 8. So all of these are this type, because there is one other 4 which you haven't seen yet. So the notch is there pointing upwards. That needs to be where the dot is going. Push it in. This is the same, the notch is right, all in the same direction. Good, looks lovely. Now where else are they? 17 and 22. That's 22, that's 23, that's 17. So on this board, so this is the power board, bottom board, something like that. It goes like that. So 17 is here, the notch is pointing that way. I mean, I have to talk myself through this every single time, otherwise I'm going to get it completely wrong. It's good to vocalize, to focus yourself in. I see 22, 22, That notch is right, this is right. Otherwise, you'll absent-mindedly get it wrong. I promise you. That's not brilliant. Oh heck. That felt like a bend. Is that in? I think that's in. I think that's in. Now I could just get it out and check. So I'm going to use a screwdriver just to tease that out, because that did not go in satisfactorily as I would like it to. I was concerned that I'd bent the legs. Doesn't look like I have. I'm going to give it another straighten. That way around. That's better. That feels better. Good. Good. So that's all of those, and there should be six TLL 074s. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, which is these here. Same deal with these. Give them a squeeze. Quite like that. Now IC3, so that sounds like it's going to be on the first one here. IC3, that one. Now this is where I get just slightly frustrated, because you see, so the nick is on there, the notch is pointing that way. Now look, there's the dot, like you had on the other one, but we ignore the dot. We ignore the dot on the larger ones. The larger ones, it has its own notch here. And it's that notch that you use, not the dot. Don't use the dot, you now use the notch. Whereas on the other ones you use the dot. Anyway, that goes in there. Push it in. Nice. So that's IC3. IC9 sounds like it's going to be on here. IC9. And IC12. So this one, let's do this one first. It's not going to be straightforward this time. Oops. IC9 is definitely that one. IC9. We want the notch following the notch. I seem to have bent those legs slightly strangely. But hey, never mind. It's in now. So another one. Make sure I get it nice and done. There's the notch. Notch to notch. This way round. Super. Now there's another 4 chunky ones, which are called AS3360s. AS3360s. IC10. So do I have any left on the first board? No. So, IC10. 16, 10 there. Squeeze it down. 13 is next. 11 there. 13 is there. I can't see the silk screen on this one. So I'm going to have to go in the hope that I put on the IC holder right, so it should be that way round. That's the hope. This one, those two are pointing in different directions. Good. 16. This one here. That way around. And 19, which is there. Which is this way around. I see 11. And then there's one small one, which is 5532. 5532. Which is for here. see 23. 23. Going for the little dot this time. Good, that's all the ICs in. Now is a good time to split the boards apart, is what it says. Now, my assumption from that is that in some part of when they were developing this, the PCBs turned up like this, all together as one thing. That's no longer the case. Probably a good idea as well, because I do fear this edge, the fragility of that edge, and that if I'm not careful, I'm going to break that. But perhaps this is a good point to, like I did with this one, to take off the edges. So again, as I say, just take a pair of pliers or snippers or something, and you just grab it and bend it. As frightening as that is, don't touch this. Just touch that end there. Gently, gently, that comes away. Oh, frightening it is. Frightening. Okay. So it says we're nearly at the end. Be careful. Secure the spacers onto the control PCB. This is the control PCB. Spacers. What does spacers look like? Oh heck, we've got this chunky thing here to stick on at some point. Spacers. These are probably spacers, aren't they? These things here. Is it giving us any clues? No, no clues. Right. Spacers. Secure the spacers onto the control PCB. The control PCB is the one that's got all the knobs and bits and pieces on. So this must be here. So this is going to be the front. Do we think that this is the thing? But I'm going to be doing lots of soldering. Do I want those on the way at the moment? But I guess what they're saying is that you're going to have some difficulty putting them in once the knobs and pots and stuff are on here. You're going to have trouble accessing that. That, I think, is what they're trying to say. So let's follow the instructions. Stop trying to preempt everything. Can't see a bloomin', can't see squat. So I'm just going to stick those on there. That, I think, is what we're after, because this, as we know, oops, goes on to those pin headers, and then we've got screws there which are going to go into that, and these spacers hold it apart nice and securely. That, I think, is what we're after. So that's one. There appears to be three. And looks like there will be more for going from one to the other. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Good, good, good. You're nearly at the end. Next part is critical. Takes concentration. Feeling a bit strained? Take a break. Good advice. Good advice. So now we proceed to mount the mechanical parts. It's critical. Please take your time. These must not be soldered until they are placed and with the front panel. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be sticking a whole load of stuff on the front here. And then before we solder it, we're going to stick on the front panel so that they hold everything in the correct position so you can then solder it. That's what they're talking about. So, pots. Are these all the same? There's 9 of them. Appear to be all the same. R103, 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 R103. Now the little nuts that come with this, they are the right size for the pots, whereas the one that come in the other bag are the right size for the patch sockets. So it's good not to mix those up like I have. But with these, let's find our position. So it's going to go on this side of the board. It's going to go on top of all your messy soldering, or my messy soldering. And they should just pop in like that. It shouldn't be any more difficult than that. These ones a bit to the side. I think I might have filled that hole with solder. Yeah. Okay, so I've got a hole here. This one here, which is a little bit full of solder, but that's not going to work, so I'm going to have to remove that. Which side is it better to do it on? Probably this side. So I'm going to have to heat that up and then suck it out. Oh yes. I heat that up. Oh yes. Oh yes. That fits in there now perfectly. On there. Why is that not going in? Go on. Oh, they're always just that little bit greasy. Oh, it's just not something that I like on my fingers at all. Okay, they're all in. Good. Look at that. Splendid. Don't solder them. Don't solder them. I want everything on there held together with the front panel. That's good. Switches. So we have a couple of switches. These things. There's a mini 1 circuits 2 position and a mini 2 circuits 2 position. Oh well, I mean they're different, so they can only go in one place. One goes there, one goes there. So this one, does it go any particular way up? Doesn't indicate that there's any polarity, so that should just go in there. Again, no indication of polarity. Should go down there, so it shouldn't matter. Good. Mini jacks. So all of these little fellas here all need to go on. They go on the bit down the bottom. And the trick for this is that you've got a hole for the leg and then the hole for the patch socket itself. So put the hole for the leg in the twangy one, the hole for the twangy leg, push that in, and then sort of fold the other bit in. And that will tend to sort of just about provide enough friction to hold that in place. This one pointing out a slightly different direction. That wangy leg has not got very wangy. Like so. Looking smart. LED. Okay, we seem to have the one LED. It's got a longer leg, which is positive. So the LED is over here. Long leg is positive. Put the long leg in the positive hole. Sticky, oily fingers now. Good. Don't solder anything. So, attach the front panel. Adjust things so that they all go through the holes, because as you can see it doesn't exactly go through the hole by default. Everything just needs a little bit of shuffling about. There we go. There we go. Get that switch in. Coming down, switch is in. That's looking pretty flat. Looking good. Okay. Attach the front panel. At this point, a pair of tweezers might be helpful. Yes, it can be in shuffling stuff about, particularly the patch sockets, but that's all gone in rather nicely this time around. Screw in the parts in this order. So mini jacks and then the pots. So what it's suggesting is that we're never going to have to take this off again. Which is very, very optimistic. So it's suggesting that we should put all of these things on. Which of course we should do. So put on the mini jacks first. Now you should have got a little tool thing here which helps you tighten them up by putting this little tool over the top into the grooves and helps you tighten those. I would say at this point you don't want to do too much tightening, because you might pull things out of their sockets because they're not currently soldered in. So finger tight, I think, is kind of what we're after. Now I think the red one goes on the out. That's my assumption at this point. Good, so that's the mini jacks. Then the pots. So these larger ones go over here. Just a little bit of tightening. Say not too tight. Good, that looks really solid. Really solid. Ensuring all the above parts are flush. You should be able to solder it and then do the LED. Do the LED last, because you're going to need to stick that in there and get that kind of right. Actually, no, you can all do it at the same time. Yeah, do it all at the same time. So what's going to be difficult is getting in amongst the things and not melting them. That's the trick at this point, because you've got all this soldering within here that you're going to try to do without melting either the capacitors or the sides, these in particular, because if you melt the holes on these, the whole thing's going to not work. But then that's kind of true for melting generally. Don't melt is the answer, just don't do it. Don't melt anything. So when I'm going in here, I've just got to be really mindful of everything that's around it. Okay, so do all the lugs, all the bits on all the things. Maybe forget about the LED for now, just so that you can check it before you do it one more time. So I'm going to get on with that, and I'll see you with a pretty much almost complete module. Right, I think I got it all. I think I got them all. It's a bit tricky in there. Now there's a couple of bits which are almost impossible and one bit that I think is impossible. So these bits in between these chips here, you've got to get your soldering iron straight in there somehow to try to get some solder onto those lugs. Now I'm generally of the opinion that the lugs on potentiometers are kind of there for ballast. They're there for stability rather than being an essential part of the circuit. Well, at least that's my understanding. I have nothing to base that on, really. But it's definitely the three prongs which are doing the stuff, not the big lugs. So there's this one here that I can't get to. Can't get to it without melting this. So I'm just going to leave that one. The rest I've done my best to get some solder to, and that should work out all right. Otherwise, that's all good. The LED, I mean, that just needs to go in the hole. It's not a special flat LED or anything weird. It just goes in the hole, and that just needs to be soldered. Easy peasy. We are definitely getting there. Right, connect the middle board with the control board. So this is our middle board with the control board. So that goes back into the sockets and the headers. And now I've got these screws lining up here also. So put in the 3 spacer screws. So there we go. Ooh, that didn't quite work. So that goes in there. This one goes in here. This one into here. Place the cartridge connector on the bottom board, but don't solder it. So I mean, there's the bottom board. Place the cartridge on the connector. Check. What? Hang on. Okay. So this is the bottom. This is the cartridge connector. And this, I'm having to assume, just goes in there. Look at all that. So place the cartridge connector on the bottom board. Don't solder them. Attach this board to the middle board and check the alignment. Right. Okay, so it's wanting to put this on top. How's it best to see this? Let's do this correctly. That's not correctly. Let's try to get this in here first. Okay. I mean, as you can see, it's not completely flush, not completely all the way there. I can't see anything in particular which is causing it not to go all the way down, and there's a bit of flex to it, and also the spacers are keeping it all apart a certain amount, but that appears to be going through. Oh my goodness, it's a bit scary at this point. It's all a little wonky, to be fair, but hey, all my best builds are a little wonky. So we did that bit, connect the middle to the thing, securing the PCBs between the spacers. Yeah. Place the cartridge connector on the bottom. Yeah. Don't solder it. Yeah. Attach this board to the middle board. Check the alignment of all boards. Well, I mean, yeah. Place a cartridge on the connector. What, one of these? Can't remember how to get into it again. Well, that seems to go in. That seems to go in fine. To the point, obviously, that's going to come out of the holes. Oh, you dipstick. Okay. Right, made a mess of that. Okay, that's in. That's in. So, as far as the lining up everything goes, that seems to have worked. What I've now made a hash of is trying to get this in the holes. Is that just going to drop in there for me? Are you going to drop in there for me? Okay. Put the knobs on. Connect the power ribbon. And connect it to a Eurorack thing. Right. Then there's pictures of it. That's it. It seems to get to the end. It sort of fizzles out. That's hilarious. Right, so is it saying I should solder it with one of these in so that it's absolutely going to be right? I mean, that makes sense, but that's not what it says. But if I was to solder it, or at least put a couple of bits in, but I don't want to pull it out, do I? Oh, Befaco. I mean, it has to be at this point that goes in. I mean, do I know if I got this round the right way? Yes, because it's on that edge, isn't it? So I think with that in there, I can solder it. That's got to be right, hasn't it? I mean, what else? How else could we go forward at this point? It's saying to put the knobs on and plug it into something. Because if I take this out and solder it and it's not quite straight, then this isn't going to go in. But the fact that that's in, as far as I can see, it looks perfect. and that's holding it in there and pushing it up against it. So if I sort of rest it gently in this orientation, I could solder across there and it's a job done. That has to be the only way. I can't see it being anything else. But it might be a good idea, Befaco, just to stick into the manual at the end and now solder the cartridge slot. That must be a thing, right? That must be a thing. They're all populated. It's all in there. It's flat against it. It's not going anywhere. Okay, go. Go. Go, go, go. Now, I don't think you want to cross any of these streams. So I've just done one on either end. There are lines between them. So you've got to be really careful of bridges here, I think. So not too much of the old solder, I would say. That's really hard. This is really, really hard. Now I'm going to sort of make the assumption that the lines that are cut between these pads, generally provide a gap. So if your bridging is only because you put on far too much solder, it's going to be bridging right at the top. Oh my goodness, I think I might have done terrible things there. Really hard to see. Okay, if you look at it from this sort of edge, see, that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I think that works. I think that works. So I'm going to screw this together with these last screws, and that should hold it all together. Now the temptation is, of course, now to put all the knobs and stuff on the front before you've ever plugged it into anything. And the downside of that is that if something smokes or something is obviously not right, you will be taking it apart. And once you put the knobs on, it's really, really hard to get them off. So I'm going to plug it in before I do that. Check that out. That is flipping ace. Flipping ace, that is. Right, I'm going to have to get something over here in order to plug this into, just to see if it smokes. It doesn't seem to be much in the way of how to test this either in the assembly guide. I guess that'll be in the manual, but does it talk about anything other than just using it? No, it just really talks about using it. Very straightforward. 2 parameters, blah blah blah. Yeah. Okay. So my plugging in of this and testing out. So it's not like it's an oscillator. So there's no calibration. It's a effects unit, and all the rigmarole is in here. This is just providing the DSP platform that allows you to route different things to and from it. Okay. So there's no calibration, no shenanigans with that. Okay, right, good. I don't feel particularly confident at this point, but I'm going to go with it. That's what we do. We go with it because we are troopers and we are DIY Eurorack experts. That's what we do. Right, here we are back to the FX Boy. I'm about to plug it in and test it out. It's been sitting around looking at me for the past few days, but here we go. This is the opportunity now to see whether it smokes, and just to check to see that things are going in, things are going out. It's basically working. And then I can put the knobs on, and then we're going to have a nice luxurious time demoing and trying things out and seeing what it actually does. So this is just that kind of first test. But before we do anything else, I've kind of got the camera in the wrong place now, but I'm just going to do something a little bit extra just to check. And that's to test the power supply. This is something that I've started to grasp, started to learn now, and that might not be a bad thing, because the most common place you're going to blow things up is just with the power supply, having a bridge somewhere around the power supply that just destroys the whole thing. And at the moment, you know, the module is complete. It has all the chips in, so if I destroy it, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. So let's just check that out. I'm just going to put this in here. It's not on, just so that you can see it from this camera here down here. All I'm looking at is this power socket. I'm just going to check that those are not broken or bridged. So I'm going to put my multimeter onto the squeak bit. That one, this one, that one. There we go. So that it if they're connected, it will beep. Continuity, I think it's called. So what I'm going to do is, what we have on here, as on one side I've got sort of 5 volts, I think. The other side I've got 12 volts, and these 2 rows of 5 pins are essentially identical. So if I put a prong, put a probe on that one there, and put a probe on the one above it, it should be connected because they're the same. Same on the other side, there's 12 volt one. There we go, it's both connected. Now what you shouldn't get when I'm connected there is anything on these 3 or 6 middle pins. Nothing, 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 nothing. And on this side, that was hitting there obviously. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Because in the middle that's ground. So if I put it on any of the pins in the middle, they all should go beep like that. So that tells me, I think, that it's okay. The power supply is all right. It's not going to blow up. Particularly, of course, there may be other places where I've bridged, and that may cause problems. But that's the whole thing about testing it, isn't it? Ultimately. So, with this turned off, I can now relatively confidently plug this into here. And have it the right way up. And I'm going to turn it on, and we're just going to look for smoke. All right, for anything that catches fire, any chips going, starting to release vapors. Nothing. So that's good. That's positive. I'm just going to secure it. Because I am going to be physically plugging things in and out, and that feels like the sort of thing that needs to be screwed in, I would say. Right, so I've got, this is an output there, this is an input. Okay, that's good. I've got something going through. So there are no lights on the FX Boy. There's no on light, there's no general LED just sparking away, but we do have this, which is an output meter, which I'm very, very grateful for, because it tells us that something's going on. Obviously I've got stuff going through, and currently there's nothing in the slot, so there's no effect. So I can go all the way wet on this knob, and that turns it off. Interesting. So if I go all the way wet and take something really interesting like this and see what happens when I stuff that in the slot, it's just supposed to work. It's supposed to be hot pluggable. Ready? Alright. Alright, that knob seems to be working. That knob's doing something. Nice. Let's try another one. Let's try, I don't know, a microphaser. Don't know, just plug something in. I can't get these bloody boxes open. I don't know how to do it. You know, I'm sure 5-year-olds with a Nintendo have no problem opening the bloody things. Anyway, this is a microphaser from Instruo. Now I'm getting a red on the output. That's interesting. Now, Befaco did actually say to me that it's possible that some of the cards are not working as expected, and that may be one. So let's try another one. I'm going to do this every time. I don't know how to open. I need instructions on how you open the box. I don't know. This is the screw. I don't know what that says. Wow. Flipping ace. That's amazing. Flanger. Interesting. Oh, that's nice. Now the other thing it's got is EQ, which is this stuff down here. Now without the knobs on, I don't know entirely what it's set to, but if I move them about, they're definitely making a difference. So it appears that these knobs are working, this is working, and the EQ's working. I mean, that's the lot, right? EQ's interesting. I hadn't thought about that really. Don't often think about EQ in Eurorack. Interesting. Well, we're going to get to this. Very much enjoying that filter. I'm going to put the knobs on, put it together, and then we'll do a proper demo, I think. There's nothing else to put on it, is there? There's just these fellas here. And then that should be it. So success. This is nice. I'm loving this already. Just the fact that I could do that. Get it in upside down and back to front. Is awesome. I love that functionality. That's a mid-gig kind of, okay, it's running through, ready to go, here we go. Boom! That's superb. Nice, right. I'll go and put it back and we'll get on with it. Right, let's get these last little bits done. Just to finish her off, as it were. What I probably need is a picture. Let's pull up one of those. So, what I tend to do with putting on knobs, I could do it in situ because it's sat there. I could just do it there. Is that I tend to turn everything full to the left. Now the two big red knobs are going to go here. There has no way to locate it, so you've got to make a decision as to where it's going to go, what it's going to point at. So if you put it all the way over to the left, all the way anti-clockwise, you can then put the dot to the dot, and then that should be more or less it. It's not exactly. Looks like the screen print doesn't go all the way around, so I could just ease that off, just put it around one little notch, and that gives it a more of an even turn. So I'll do the same here. So yeah, not quite on the dot. And once I'm happy with that, I can give it some welly, push it down, and that they're not completely the same. That's okay. I don't mind that they're not completely the same. I'm happy with that. It's part of the joy of doing it yourself, is that it has a certain amount of difference about it. Now these two here, I think, are CV attenuators. That's my understanding at this point. And they seem to want to have these little grey knobs. So I'm going to stick those on there. They look about right. Oh, I'm going with it now. I'm just going with it. Then the dry wet knob, it's going to have a white one. I think. What else have I got? I've got two of those. And the rest is for EQ. Oh, no, I've got a black one there. Okay. Does that mean I've got an extra? Possibly. But hey, let's go with the white one for the dry wet. Similar way, like that. Good. Then EQ. Ah, no. Oh, yeah. Well, so what? Okay, dry wet then. That comes off not too bad. It's going to be the light grey. Light grey, going for dry wet. I'll show you why in a moment. And then for the EQ, apparently we have the darkest to the left. Which means is why I need to keep the white one for this furthest the most. What's it? Okay, good. That's looking really rather nice. Really rather nice. So that is right there. That is the FX Boy. Well, heck and all, that's some kind of thing, that is. Cool, blimey, governor. I mean, evidently, most of the current cartridges are a bit on the crashy, noisy, distortion, overdrivey kind of vibe. Which is nice. I mean, because part of what I like about it is the fact that you stab it in there, you stick it in, and the effect goes boom, and it's all over the place. I mean, that is part of the appeal of this, is the fact you're pulling these out and putting them back in again. I mean, with the right selection at the right time, knowing what you're doing, you could really do some serious damage with it. I think. I mean, in a good way. In a good way. The FX Girl one in here, is it? Where is it? This one does have a delay on it, which is quite nice. It's a crunchy delay, but it's a delay nonetheless, which you can throw in there. Otherwise, it's got granular weirdness going on. The Befaco's own trash one just, works all the time. No bother, complete, saturated, crushed sound, which is just amazing. This one from Tuel Scaran, the Esculva, this is just, complete demonic hell or heaven, depending on which you look at it. But you stick it in there and it just explodes into craziness. So that's a nuts one. Wavefolding is great. I mean, it's interesting how I used a few different flavors of sound and how different they were. Some worked spectacularly on percussion, others didn't. Some worked really well on the surface, sort of jingly jangly things. Other ones didn't. Everything seemed to work well on the bass line, I thought. The only one that's perhaps slightly not giving it at the moment is the flanger. I mean, it worked all right on the surface, but there's a sort of like a bit of a drop in volume with that one compared to many of the others. I don't know what that's about necessarily, but there are definitely a mixed bag of distortion and crushing and affecting and micro flanging and phasing and bits and pieces, and you probably need to look into the manuals or to find some kind of description to tell you exactly what it is that they do. I'm just farting around. I'm just sticking stuff in and playing with it and seeing what happens. The EQ is actually useful. You could use that in anger to cut bits out and change the shape of what's going on. The knobs here, I don't know, they're all right. They're just, you know, it might feel better if it was CV'd from somewhere else where you could pull stuff out quite easily. That might be interesting. For instance, you could stick it on a mute switch and then you could do like DJ cuts and cut out the top end or cut out the low end, that kind of thing. That might be interesting. So, yeah, I mean, it was a fun build. Well, fun build. It was a long build, an involved build, which I enjoyed doing very much. And the end result is this flipping amazing and hopefully expandable effects box. I mean, if they were looking just to distort and overdrive stuff, then they've absolutely nailed that. You can stick stuff through it and then just napalm it by pushing the cartridge in. That's pretty great. So there you go, the FX Boy. Hopefully that'll stick around in my rack, I think, and I'll find different things to do with it. You know, I do like a little bit of beauty as well, and perhaps that's not something that it's offering up just at the moment, but if it's something raw and gritty that you want, then yes, this is doing that. Yeah, so I hope that was helpful. In the meantime, go make some tunes.